Hi, this is Catherine from Literacy Volunteers. This is session 6 of our Civics Questions video series. Today we'll cover 10 questions about Congress. As a reminder, the Constitution sets up the government. It explains how our government will work, and it describes the different parts of our government. So, for example, in Section 1, it says that the laws will be made by a group of people from each state. And it gives lots of information about how long those people will serve, what the lawmaking involves, who can be elected to make the laws, and so forth. Another reminder is that the writers of the Constitution were very worried about any part of the government becoming too powerful. They didn't want to ever have anything like the king that ruled the colonies when the colonies were part of England. So when they became independent, they said, our new government will make sure that no one ever has that much power. So they separated the power into 3 different branches. One branch is called the executive branch. That includes the president. Another branch is called, or you can see it over here, the legislative branch, and that includes Congress. And the third branch is called the judicial branch, and that includes the courts. Each branch was given different powers. Today, we're going to focus on the Congress, which is the legislative branch. Okay, the legislative branch is also called Congress, and Congress makes our laws. What are the 2 parts of the U.S. Congress? Our Constitution also separates power within the legislative branch. Within Congress, they make a further separation. So they made 2 parts of Congress. So that one part is called the Senate. The other part is called the House of Representatives. In order for a law to become, an idea to become a new law, it has to be voted on by and approved by a majority of the members of the House of Representatives and by a majority of the members of the Senate. What are the 2 parts of the U.S. Congress? The Senate and the House. You can say the House of Representatives or just the House. Next, we're going to talk specifically about the House of Representatives. To clarify, the word represent means to speak for a group of people. If all of these people want someone to represent them, they'll pick someone to speak for them, to go maybe and tell the government what they think the government should do. The person who represents the group is called a representative. A person who represents the group is called a representative. Okay? All right, so let's go back again to think about when the Constitution was written. We had 13 new states, and the states had different ideas about how they should decide who makes the laws. Big states, like for example Virginia, thought that if you have more people, you should have more representatives in Congress making the laws. So maybe a small state like Delaware has a small population. They would only get 1 representative to help make the laws. But a big state like Virginia with a lot of people should get more. Maybe they should get 3 representatives or 7 representatives to help make the laws in Congress. So in the U.S. House of Representatives, the number of U.S. representatives from each state is based on the state's population. So this was the idea that the big states liked back when our Constitution was written. So that is how they designed the House of Representatives. Small states get few representatives, big states get more representatives. So for example, Virginia has 8.5 million people, and we have 11 representatives in the House of Representatives. California has 40 million people. They have 53 representatives in the House of Representatives. Wyoming has only 1/2 people, 500,000 people. So they only have 1 representative in the House of Representatives. The way that the country, the government, finds out how many representatives each state should get is using the census. So every 10 years, the government conducts a census to find out how many people live in each state. It does not count citizens, it counts all of the people who live in the state. So the more people who live in your state that are counted in the census, the more representatives you can get. Why do some states have more representatives than other states? Some states have more people. How many U.S. representatives are there? 435. The House of Representatives has how many voting members? 435. We elect a representative for how many years? For 2 years. So that means every 2 years, all of the 435 members of the House of Representatives have to run for election, and the people get to vote if they want that representative to continue to serve another 2 years, or to elect a new person to serve as their representative. So every 2 years, the people get to elect who will be their representative for the next 2 years. We elect a U.S. representative for how many years? 2. Now let's talk about the Senate. Remember, we talked about how back in the time of the Constitution, the big states wanted to make sure that states with more population had more representatives. And that's how they designed the House of Representatives. But meanwhile, the small states said that every state should have the same number of representatives in making the laws. They thought no matter the size of your state, if this group is from one state, they should get 1 person in charge of making laws. And even this, another state has all these people. They should still have 1 person from that state to help make the laws. Okay? So that's what the small states wanted. So the Constitution writers made a compromise. The House of Representatives was designed the way the big states wanted the Congress to be designed. And the Senate is designed the way the small states wanted Congress to be designed. So, for example, California, look how big California is. There's 40 million people who live in California. They get 2 senators. Delaware is tiny down here. I think there's approximately 1 million people live in Delaware. They get 2 senators. Virginia, we have 8.5 million people. We get 2 senators. Wyoming has, what did we say, 500,000 people. They get 2 senators. So there are 2 senators from every state. There are 50 states, so that means if there are 2 senators per state, how many senators are there altogether? 100. How many U.S. senators are there? 100. Who does a U.S. Senator represent? Every U.S. Senator represents all of the people who live in their state. They do not divide the state in half and say half of the state is Mark Warner's half and the other half of the state is Tim Kaine's half. No, the whole state all is represented, by both Mark Warner and Tim Kaine. Each senator represents all people of the state. That means if you have a concern that you want to tell your U.S. Senator about, you can tell both Tim Kaine and Mark Warner. This is an example of what their online forum looks like, where you can tell the senator what you think. If you live in Virginia, anyone who lives in Virginia, you are welcome to contact one or both of our senators to tell them what you think about any issue that the government deals with. Who does a U.S. Senator represent? All people of the state. We elect a U.S. Senator for how many years? 6 years. You can see here Mark Warner was elected in 2014. He served for 6 years and then he ran again in 2020 and was elected for another 6 years. 1/3 of the senators, there's 100 senators, about 1/3 of them are elected every 2 years. So in 2016, 1/3 of the senators were elected and they will serve until 2022. Our other senator, Tim Kaine, he was part of the group of senators who were elected in 2018, and he will serve for 6 years until 2024. So every senator serves for 6 years, but they're elected at different times. We elect a U.S. Senator for how many years? 6. Good. Okay, that's all of our questions for this session. If you would like to practice, you can pause here and practice all of these questions. If you're using the textbook that we use within the class at Literacy Volunteers, this set of questions was from Chapter 8. We'll see you next time.